allows us to create 3 different types of business process rules. We have trigger-based, threshold-based, and time-based. I'm in the admin tool right now in Cherwell. I'm going to go click on business process, then create new business process blueprint. And that brings me to my business process editor, where I can see the existing rules that I already have in the system. I can see whether they're enabled or disabled. Maybe I want to disable all my rules except perhaps one that I'm testing at this time. I can see the type of rule it is. I can see the object that the rule is running against, and I can see the name of the process on the far left. I can of course sort by any of these columns just by single clicking on that column, clicking a second time to reverse sort, and click again here to sort alpha. Now also on the left I've got some icons here. So the little yellow bell, those are our trigger-based, the simple action events. The clock are our visual workflow or time-based. And then the thermometer is our threshold-based workflow. To create a new one, all I have to do is click on this little drop down here, and I'm going to pick visual in this case, which is our time-based. I'm going to call this time-based test. I can base this workflow on a specific object type. In this case, it's the incident. If I hit that drop down, I can do it against majors, supporting, or lookups. Or if I uncheck this show all, it's just going to show me my major objects. So I'm going to leave this as a rule against the incident. I will click OK. And then my first choice is, well, how do I want to trigger this rule? It can be when the incident is created. If I hit that drop down, it could be when the incident is changed. When the incident is changed or created, incident is closed, incident is reopened. A related child event. So maybe if a task gets created against that incident, I could have this rule kick off and jump into memory. Let me jump back to incident created. I'm going to base it just on that fact. When this incident gets created, I want this rule to drop into memory and start getting monitored. And I could also base this rule on different work hours. By default, it's the 24/7 calendar, but it could be based on an SLA, or it could be based on working hours. So any of the working hours that you have in your business hours manager, we could point at those and have this rule obey those hours. I'm going to jump back and just use my 24/7. We could limit the records that this rule runs against. So perhaps I only want to run these rules against tickets that came in via email, or tickets that came in from the portal, or maybe tickets that were logged against a certain customer type or for a certain customer location. So the possibilities are pretty much endless with expressions that you can build to limit the types of records you're going to run against. I can limit the execution of this rule, let it only run once, let it run multiple times, and I can tell this to abort at a certain point. So maybe when the incident gets closed, then this guy drops out of memory, regardless of how far along it went in its process. So let me go back to my start event. So I'm going to go over here to the left and just grab my wait for time. And I'll drag him as my second step and drop him. So now Cherwell is going to wait for a specific amount of time before he runs his action. And for my action, I'm going to grab one of my one steps here and drag him and drop him. So let's jump back for the time for a second here. So start when the incident is created and wait X number of days, hours, minutes, quarters, or I could wait for a specific field on that incident. So maybe I want to wait for the pending end date time. So if the pending time got set, then I would wait for that date and I would run this one step. I'm just going to make it very simple and go back to specific days. So I'm going to wait for 3 days. So the ticket gets created, I wait for 3 days from that create date time, and then I'm going to do something. Well, what is that do something? Well, I can execute a specific action, like sending an email, a tweet, updating an object, creating a child object, or I could pick an existing one step, or I could build a one step right here in the one step manager. Now you'll notice a new folder here. Normally when you're in the client tool, you see the user folder, the team folder, and the global. If you're in a blueprint, you'll see the blueprint folder, but if you're in the business process editor, you see this new business intelligence folder. That's the only time you see that folder. So you can put items in there that will only be visible if you're in editing that engine. So I'm going to put this one step right here. And actually I'm going to pick one of these existing ones. Update incident SLA calc field. So I'll just double click on that. And I'll make that my last step. So I'm going to grab my jump to end and drop him as the last step. So this is a very, very simple time-based rule. Ticket gets created. Cherwell waits for 3 days from that create time. It runs this one step, and that's it. It ends the process, drops it out of memory, and this is not monitored anymore.